before streaming services, before binge-watching, before screens fit in your pocket. There was a different kind of television, the kind that gathered entire families into a single room and made them feel something real. Little House on the Prairie was that kind of show, a prairie town built from wooden storefronts, dirt roads, and the unshakable belief that ordinary people living with courage and kindness were worth watching closely. Decades have passed since those first episodes aired in 1974. The world changed, the cast scattered. Some are still here in 2026, carrying the years with grace. Others left far too soon, taking pieces of that world with them. But every rerun keeps Walnut Grove standing, and every familiar face carries the full, complicated weight of everything that came after the final credits rolled. Tonight we go back. This is Little House on the Prairie, then and now. Laura Ingalls saw the world without filters, stubborn, passionate, and unable to stay quiet when something felt unjust. Melissa Gilbert, born May 8, 1964 in Los Angeles, was just 10 when she stepped into those boots in 1974. Gilbert gave Laura an emotional honesty that never felt performed. Audiences didn't simply watch her grow. They grew alongside her through heartbreaks and the slow, difficult work of becoming an adult. Laura's fire came from love more than stubbornness, and Gilbert understood that distinction completely. After the series, she continued acting and directing, and later served as president of the Screen Actors Guild, becoming a significant voice for performers. In 2026, Melissa Gilbert is 62. She remains for generations raised on that hillside, the girl running downhill. Braids loose, eyes fixed ahead, trying to understand a world too large and too beautiful to ever fully contain. Charles Ingalls was never written as a flawless man, and that honest imperfection made him extraordinary. Michael Landon, born October 31, 1936 in Queens, New York, was 38 when he first walked Walnut Grove's roads in 1974. He played Charles as a man genuinely weighed down, tired, uncertain, sometimes afraid, yet always choosing his family when turning away would have been easier. Beyond acting, Landon shaped the show entirely, producing, writing, and directing with a moral vision that kept the series honest rather than sentimental. He didn't build a perfect world. He built a decent one and made audiences believe it was worth the effort. Michael Landon died on July 1, 1991, at 54 from pancreatic cancer. What endures is the image of a man who understood that real strength means choosing love long after the feeling alone stops being enough. The Ingalls household survived on Charles's vision and Caroline's steadiness. Karen Grassle, born February 25, 1942, in Berkeley, California, was 32 when she first appeared in 1974, bringing to Ma an authority the script alone couldn't supply. Caroline's heroism lived in unglamorous daily work. Bread made before dawn, wounds dressed without flinching, arguments dissolved before becoming fractures. Grassle gave that invisible labor genuine dignity, never reducing Caroline to a background figure or a sentimental ideal. She played a specific, intelligent woman holding a frontier family together under enormous pressure, composure functioning as its own quiet form of courage. Beyond the show, Grassle continued performing and spoke openly about her personal experiences and advocacy. In 2026, Karen Grassle is 84, the woman at the kitchen window whose unshakable calm made even the longest, hardest winters feel like something a family could survive together. Mary Ingalls started as the careful daughter, studious, composed, the steady presence beside Laura's constant restless energy. Then the show asked something far harder of her. Melissa Sue Anderson, born September 26, 1962, in Berkeley, California, was only 12 when she joined in 1974. When Mary's blindness storyline arrived, Anderson played it without melodrama, portraying grief, adjustment, and slow rebuilding with a maturity that genuinely surprised audiences. The performance mattered because it refused to romanticize loss. Mary's new life wasn't dramatic theater. It was a real existence rebuilt through faith and a refusal to be defined by what had been taken. Anderson earned an Emmy nomination for that work. After the series, she continued acting in various roles. In 2026, Melissa Sue Anderson is 64. Watching her now, the performance still holds. A young actress who understood that dignity on screen needs no theatrical assistance. Albert Ingalls arrived wearing armor assembled from years surviving alone, defensive, distrustful, and quietly desperate to belong somewhere permanent. Matthew Labyorteaux, born December 8, 1966 in Los Angeles, joined the series around age 10, giving Albert one of the show's most emotionally demanding arcs. His performance mattered because Albert's journey redefined the show's understanding of family entirely. The Ingalls didn't fix him with speeches. They remained consistently present until he accepted he might actually deserve their constancy. His storylines covering identity, illness, and addiction pushed the series into darker territory, and Labyorteaux met those demands with raw sincerity, never softening the pain into comfort. After the series, he built a strong secondary career in voice work. In 2026, Matthew Labyorteaux is 60. Albert remains the show's quiet core truth. Family means the people who keep choosing you, especially when you're convinced you aren't worth choosing. Almanzo Wilder brought something the show genuinely needed at that stage: the future. Dean Butler, born May 20th, 1956, in Prince George, British Columbia, was 23 when he joined, giving Almanzo an unhurried groundedness that made the character feel rooted in the era. The courtship between Almanzo and Laura became one of classic television's most enduring romances, not through grand gestures, but because Butler played decency as the most genuinely attractive quality a man could possess. Through him, audiences watched Laura evolve from a questioning girl into a woman building her own life, love shown as a daily construction rather than a single dramatic declaration. After the series, Butler moved into producing and directing, including documentary work about Little House itself. In 2026, Dean Butler is 70. For fans, he remains reins in hand, glancing at Laura beside him, standing quietly at the beginning of everything. Mr. Edwards emerged from the wilderness assembled from rough materials, enormous, bearded, and loud, then immediately became one of the show's most irreplaceable souls. Victor French, born December 4th, 1934, in Santa Barbara, was 40 when he first appeared, delivering a range that moved from broad comedy to devastating emotional honesty without a single false step between. The performance mattered because Edwards was permitted to be genuinely flawed, battling grief, depression, and real consequences of his own poor choices. French gave those darker arcs enough truth that they elevated the entire surrounding series. After Little House, he reunited with Michael Landon on Highway to Heaven, a partnership audiences received with immediate trust. Victor French died on June 15, 1989, at 54 from lung cancer. His Mr. Edwards endures, the rough exterior wrapped around an enormous heart, proof that redemption is available to anyone willing to choose it more than once. Harriet Oleson was Walnut Grove's resident disruption, appearing at every gathering with an appetite for social chaos and a talent for making others' difficulties feel like personal entertainment. Katherine MacGregor, born January 12, 1925, in Glendale, California, was 49 when she first stepped behind the mercantile counter in 1974. What elevated the role beyond caricature was MacGregor's understanding that Harriet's cruelty grew from recognizable human fears: insecurity dressed as superiority, loneliness expressed through condescension, the terror of being overlooked. Those glimpses of fragility beneath the bluster made Harriet genuinely watchable. After the series, MacGregor focused on theater and personal spiritual pursuits. She died on November 13, 2018, at 93. In reruns, she remains behind that counter, chin raised, eyes sharp, lasting proof that a truly memorable antagonist requires considerably more craft and humanity than any heroic role ever demands of its performer. If Harriet was the storm, Nels was the quiet weather that followed, patient, fair-minded, and permanently caught between conscience and a relentlessly domineering wife. Richard Bull, born June 26, 1924 in Zion, Illinois, was 50 when he first appeared in 1974, making something genuinely moving out of a role that easily could have become a supporting punchline. Bull gave Nels a quiet heroism built entirely from endurance. The daily discipline of remaining decent when surrounding noise never quite stops. He played the fatigue honestly and the moral steadiness convincingly, and that combination carried unusual human truth. Bull continued working in television and was known off-screen as a modest and generous colleague. He passed away on February 3, 2014, at 89. In reruns, Nels remains at his counter, quietly dignified, offering the most understated reminder that goodness practiced without recognition is still the most genuine form of goodness. Nellie Oleson may be the most precisely constructed villain ever assembled from ringlets and calculated spite. Alison Arngrim, born January 18, 1962 in New York City, was only 12 when she took on the role in 1974, delivering cruelty with timing so sharp that audiences laughed even while genuinely wincing. What gave the performance real depth was Arngrim's instinct for the source of Nellie's behavior: insecurity, fear of insignificance, a child performing power modeled directly by her mother. Those glimpses beneath the performance gave Nellie unexpected dimension and made her eventual growth toward adulthood feel earned. Off-screen, Arngrim later spoke openly about a difficult childhood and channeled her platform into meaningful advocacy for survivors. In 2026, Alison Arngrim is 64, still connected to devoted fans. On the Prairie, Nellie endures as a character audiences loved watching, quietly respected for the extraordinary craft required to bring her fully alive. Willie Olsen arrived as the mercantile's resident agitator, spoiled, pouty, entirely convinced the world existed primarily for his personal inconvenience. Jonathan Gilbert, born April 28, 1967 in Los Angeles, was only 7 when he first appeared in 1974, bringing natural comic energy that made Willie genuinely amusing rather than simply irritating. What gave the performance lasting value was the gradual, almost invisible transformation across the seasons. Willie didn't remain a punchline. He absorbed difficult lessons and arrived somewhere noticeably closer to decency by the series' end. In a show built on moral development, that quiet shift was one of the most honest the series ever delivered. After the show, Gilbert stepped entirely away from acting, choosing a private life far removed from public attention. In 2026, Jonathan Gilbert is 59. On the Prairie, he remains the boy at the counter, proof that even the most resistant characters can eventually choose to become someone better. Jonathan Garvey brought a different kind of strength to the Prairie, measured not in volume, but in steadiness. Merlin Olsen, born September 15, 1940 in Logan, Utah, joined at 37, arriving from a legendary football career and a Pro Football Hall of Fame legacy. What surprised audiences was his gentleness, a physically imposing man who played fatherhood and friendship with quiet emotional precision. His scenes alongside Charles Ingalls felt like two real men sharing burdens without ceremony. His relationship with on-screen son Andy showed the tender difficulty of parenting with imperfect tools in hard conditions. Olsen proved that strength and tenderness are not opposites but permanent partners. After Little House, he continued acting, starred in Father Murphy, and worked as a sports commentator. He died on March 11, 2010 at 69, from mesothelioma. In reruns, Garvey holds steady, Strength offered quietly, always fully in service of those beside him. Reverend Alden held Walnut Grove together not through grand sermons, but through consistent, unannounced presence. Dabbs Greer, born April 2, 1917, in Independence, Missouri, was 57 when he first appeared, bringing a warmth so natural that the little church immediately felt like genuine shelter. What made Greer's performance endure was his understanding that pastoral care rarely announces itself. It lives in smaller gestures, a careful word offered when grief has no language, a hand placed on a shoulder, the willingness to remain present until the silence becomes bearable. In a show devoted to community, Reverend Alden embodied faith grown from daily decency rather than theatrical declaration. Greer continued acting well into old age, later appearing memorably in The Green Mile. He passed away on April 28, 2007, at 90. In reruns, Reverend Alden remains unhurried and present, proof that the most powerful voices never need to rise above a murmur. Miss Beadle represented Walnut Grove's most essential investment, the conviction that education was the bridge between bare survival and something genuinely worth becoming. Charlotte Stewart, born February 27, 1941, in Yuba City, California, was 33 when she first rang the school bell, playing the teacher with quiet authority that felt entirely earned, firm without cruelty, patient without weakness. Her performance mattered because the schoolhouse wasn't simply a location. It was where the Prairie's future was assembled, one careful lesson at a time, fairness practiced, responsibility absorbed by children who would carry it forward. Miss Beadle made learning feel like genuine possibility rather than obligation. Off-screen, Stewart later spoke candidly about personal struggles and earned real respect for her honesty. In 2026, Charlotte Stewart is 85, still warmly embraced by fans, still standing at that schoolroom front, chalk in hand, quietly building futures one child at a time. Carrie Ingalls carried something no writer could manufacture: pure, unguarded childhood wonder. The role was shared by twins Lindsay and Sydney Greenbush, born May 25, 1970, in Los Angeles, only 4 years old when they began in 1974. Most viewers never suspected the illusion, a seamless performance achieved under strict child labor guidelines and careful production scheduling. Their presence mattered because Carrie served no plot function. She embodied a feeling. In a series weighted with illness, loss, and moral struggle, Carrie's smallness reminded audiences precisely what every adult hardship was ultimately protecting: a child's right to grow up in safety and joy. As the twins aged, Carrie's scenes gradually expanded from gentle mischief into quieter emotional moments. Lindsay eventually stepped away from acting entirely, choosing a private life. In 2026, the twins are 56, forever one small figure running downhill, laughter trailing behind her like something too fragile and too precious to hold. The Prairie never promised permanence, only the chance to build something worth remembering. In 2026, some of those who built it are still with us. Many are gone, their final credits long since rolled in quiet rooms far from any camera. But every rerun keeps the town standing, and every familiar face carries the full weight of the life that unfolded beyond the frame. That is the particular gift these shows offer: a place where time agreed to pause, and the people you loved on screen remain exactly as you left them. If one story from Walnut Grove followed you home tonight, carry it with you. Those kinds of memories don't ask for very much, only that you don't let them go too quickly. Like, subscribe, and join us again here on Famevora, where the legends never quite leave.